was like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, they probably still be going to 15 too.
But I was like, so we had the hearing and we did it, and the mother's, the girl said, you're right, I shouldn't hit. She couldn't guarantee. I said, well, you know what, next time you hit, this is what's going to happen. I got really stern with her and said, okay, that's fine if you want to do that, but this is what's going to happen next.
Here's the part, yeah.
Because you've already gone through arbitration. If you do it during arbitration, the judge is going to just not be happy with you. And after the 90 days and you do it again, they're still going to know you went through arbitration, and the judge is going to still not going to, you could go away for 45 days. Simple assault judges do not like this. You don't hit people. Do you want to go away for 45 days? And especially about a boy that you guys don't even talk about. Ever. You don't like him now. So the next one you're not going to like either.
Right.
So it's like that. I always give that example because it opened my eyes. I went back and Catherine Barton is the head of the 11th Circuit, and I said, you would not believe. And she's, oh yeah, I should have warned you. That's just Edgefield. That was an Edgefield case. I was like, oh my word, that is so interesting. So that's why we do this little exercise, because we want, we're dealing with not only our values when we sit down in a case, we're dealing with everybody's values, from the victim to the police officer to the young offender, juvenile, and their parents. Who you're gonna, there's always gonna be one cat. I've done it for 11 years. 11, I don't know, it all blends now. That they, you're gonna get a couple parents and see they've done nothing wrong. And I didn't punish them because I don't think they did anything wrong. Whether it's smoking pot, or underage drinking, or getting in that fight, Kids will be kids, that's what they'll say. Kids will be kids. No, this isn't kids will be kids. That type of thing. So thanks for doing that little exercise with me. I always like to start that out when we talk about this and restorative justice, because that's what arbitration is. Arbitration is restorative justice, and it's balance and restorative justice. And I'm going to give you handouts of what I'm passing that. There you go, of the slides. And so let me do this. There we go. Purpose and objective of this presentation is to provide participants with a baseline understanding of restorative justice. My objectives are to identify the elements of an effective conflict resolution process, describe the principles and values of restorative justice, name 3 primary stakeholders in the restorative justice process, and describe the role and accountability in the restorative justice process. We just did the family conflict exercise, so that is done. If we had a good process in the community to resolve conflict and harm, what would you want to be the characteristics of that process?
The challenge there is you just defined, we don't all have the same ethos in our way in which we operate in our world.
Right. So, well then, what would you want to be true of a community process where you live?
Everyone participates.
Everyone participates. Will it be fair? That type of thing. Who makes the decisions in this process?
Parties.
Yeah, the parties involved.
Yeah.
And who should participate in the process? Everybody. Right. The restorative justice theory is crime is a violation of people and of interpersonal relationships. Violations create obligations, and the central obligation is to put right the wrongs. And that's the whole basis of restorative justice, right there. Put the right, you know, put the right, is to right the wrongs. And that's hard. So. Restorative justice theory is also changing the thinking, because in criminal justice we're taught what laws have been broken, but in restorative justice we ask who has been hurt. In criminal justice we ask who did it. You know, the police want to know who did it. Well, in restorative justice, what are their needs? And then in criminal justice, what do they deserve? It's that trial, gavel, throw them away for 25 years and that. But in restorative justice, whose obligations are these?
Who did it? And what are their needs? Explain it to me.
Well, who did, in criminal justice, it's that black and white, who did it?
Okay. Okay.
It's the law.
Okay.
It's right. But in restorative justice, what are the needs of the person who did it? Why did they do it?
Oh.
Why did they do it?
Was it just a prank?
It was a prank.
Was it because she talking about
bread?
girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
Did they steal bread because they wanted to feed their little sister? Or they're in a gang and they're getting initiated and they have to shoot somebody. You know, we can go the whole gamut of, that would not be restorative justice.
No.
But the kid who is stealing bread, you know, for his little sister to eat because mom's never home, we want to know the needs. How do we fix them? How do we, you know, give them the services they need so that they don't have to do that? And that's what arbitration comes to, because it's that first time where we can really sit down and address what happened, have everybody at the table, the victim, the police officer, the kid, the parent, you, and you're that little mediator pulling out those questions, and that you'll get trained on. Ray will train you that, you know, that you're a really good listener. I mean, you become a really good listener, and you prompt them. You know, I never ask a question. The only one question I ask a kid is, when you woke up this morning, what did you do? And they tell me, and then I go, and then, until he's like, and then my parents came and picked me up from the police station, and I still go, and then. And then they normally don't do that. You'll be shocked. A lot of them don't do that. A lot of them are going to sit down and go, well, I thought they're here for you to punish them. I didn't do anything. So, and then that's a tell sign too. But, and then I went to bed. Okay. Because I want it to be their story. It's not my story. I don't want to direct them in any way. And I will not let I said that when they're talking, do not talk at this. You get to talk next, but this is their story. And I need them to be able to freely speak that story. And the parents normally will. They're not going to interrupt and say anything like that, that type of thing. So that's what we talk about. What are their needs?
Okay.
You know.
Got it.
You know. Restorative justice theory. Who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are the victims, the offenders, and our communities. Who do you think, who is the community? For restorative justice, the key questions are, who in the community cares about these people or this offense? So if it's a shoplifting, who do you think in the community really, who cares about this offense?
Should be everyone.
Walmart.
Walmart, but you're right, everyone, because of the shoplifting, our prices go up.
Yeah.
You know, or what about who in the community if this is a simple possession charge? Who do you think that? I mean, who does that affect?
It depends on everyone.
Yeah.
So
Because it depends what they do while they're under the influence or whatever they're doing.
and then the big thing is, how can we involve them in the process? You know, how do we fall? I mean, I can tell you right now, Walmart will never come to a hearing. They might up here, but down everywhere I've been, down in the Columbia, they don't come. So they'll send a victim impact statement, so you know how much the restitution is or what they've done and that type of thing. But But most cases, they won't come, so.
Go back to your example. You gave simple possession.
Mm-hmm.
And who in the community cares about these? How can we involve them in the process? So simple possession.
Simple possession of what?
Marijuana.
Yeah.
Marijuana.
You see what I'm saying? Like involve the dealer?
No.
You know, like my mind went immediately like all the way over there. Okay.
The thing is, if it's that big, you'll never go through arbitration.
Right.
We're talking about a kid who was sitting in a parking lot, the police drive by, him and a friend are sitting in a parking lot so they can get high. They have like a little blunt left, and the cop rolls up and just smells it. And so the cop wants to give him a break, so he's going to let him go through arbitration because he really doesn't have anything on him. But he's been caught smoking pot. You know, they smell it. And so really in that case, it's really the kid, the family. You know, who you can get involved? Well, you'll get involved your local. You know, I always get them drug tested. And then that type of thing. But they don't come to the table. That really is just the police officer and the kid and the parent. You know, because you can't, you know, because it's not, you know, but sometimes they get caught at school with it. And the SRO will come, but that does affect the school. The principal and the assistant principal aren't going to come, but you know, that type of thing. But how can we involve everybody in the process, making sure all the stakeholders are there? You know, that's why it's so important that victims come, because it really does. I mean, I've had victims cry, I've had victims storm out still mad at everybody, I've had, you know, because it's personal to them. The kids don't, but the kids need to understand how it's affected them. Most of the time when a victim gets to say their piece, they're fine. But you know, but you have to treat them, you know, you let them speak. You let them, you know, you don't let them be rude to the kid. You don't let them cuss out the kid. You don't let them, you know. But most of them just, you know, it is. I mean, you know, you break into a car and they're on a fixed income to replace a window, which $400 is huge to them. They can't afford that. They don't know, and they didn't do anything. They went to bed that night. Their car was locked. They didn't have anything in their car showing. They just went to bed. So they need to be able to say, this is how it's affected me. I couldn't work for 2 days. Me not working means I didn't get to pay my cable bill this month. You know, I don't, you know, that type of thing. And so, and then that also makes them understand that what the restitution is. This is why I'm making you pay that $400. They don't have car insurance that covers a broken window. Everybody kid thinks insurance covers everything, but not everybody has all of those insurance. Yeah. So and so they need to understand that until we can get them in the room, you know, because even the parents said, "We'll have the insurance pay," well, they don't have the insurance to pay for it.
And the option there, though, is if the insurance company is paying for it, we're all paying the premium.
Exactly.
The insurance company just passes it along to us in terms of premium.
So
they need to understand that. Then.
Right. Yes. So so that's why, it's good. And the thing is, it is transforming. I mean, the first time it happened to me, when the victim got to say their piece and the kid is just crying and just apologizing and saying, "I'm so sorry," because they didn't think. I mean, we are dealing with kids. If we have kids, we know sometimes they just don't think. You want to, like you said, pop them in the back of the head and go, "What you thinking?" And when they say, "I really don't know," sometimes they really don't know why they did it. But you know, but it's good for them to see, you know, because Ray's going to give you like how to conduct the hearing, like step by step, and who talks first and who talks next and stuff like that. And it's transforming, because once the kid hears from the victim, it does affect them. It does. And so usually, I mean, I've been to many where they're hugging at the end and they're, "What can I do to help?" Like, they can't go mow the grass, they can't do anything that's against our policies, but then they're not afraid to not talk when they see, because they usually live in their communities. You know, I always tell my kids that I do hearings with, if I see you, because at first I said, you are protected by law. Everything you do, I cannot say my kids don't know anything, my husband doesn't know who you are. I just don't say anything. I said, if I'm in Walmart and I walk past you, I will not walk up to you. If you walk up to me, I will hug your neck, I will talk to you, I'll say hi, I'll talk to your parents, I'll do whatever. You've got to make that approach, because I never want you to have to explain who I am. Because you might be in Walmart with some friends. You might not be with your parents, and they're like, who is this old lady coming up to talk to you? You know, that type of thing. I said, but you've got to approach me. I teach a life skills class too for our circuit, and I tell them the same thing. I said, Columbia's a small town. You might live over in Blythewood, but I'm over there for games. I'm over here, I'm over there. I said, again, I would love to talk to you, but you've got to approach me. Because I'm never going to put you in a situation that you have to explain, well, who is that? You know, and then I don't want you to have to lie. Right. So, you know, and it's nobody's business how you know me.
Right.
But, you know, it's up to you. Community accountability and responsibility. It attends to the wounds of the victim, short and long term. Participant in a resolution to the incident that does not further harm any of those affected. It affirms the expectations and norms of all community members without severing bonds. And it identifies and addresses underlying community conditions that may have contributed to the behavior. You know, so that's, any questions about those?
But it's not, that last one, identifies and addresses underlying community conditions that may have contributed to the behavior, but there's nothing you can do about it.
It is if the police officer's sitting there and they're usually saying, because the kids sometimes divulge just stuff to the police, okay, without knowing that they're divulging, that this corner is a hot spot. Mm-hmm. You know, like I get my drugs from school, well they know they need to be doing more at the school. Mm-hmm. Or they, you know, that type of, okay, you know, I mean, it's not your place to investigate anything, right, but everybody picks up on it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, or, I mean, the thing is, if a kid does say in the hearing, yeah, I got home and my dad beat the crap out of me with a belt, I would call Ray and say, I think we might need to, you know, we might need to do a little report to DSA. I mean, you know, if the kid's like, yeah, I had bruises and welts and everything, you're not mandated reporters, but I would highly suggest to at least call Ray and say, this kid in this hearing said his dad beat the crap out of him afterwards. Because if he did it that time, he's probably done it another time.
But in my place, I am a mandated reporter.
Well, but yes, but that's not your role as an arbitrator.
So explain to me how to deal with it. I guess that's what I'm going.
Call Ray Moore.
Okay, so
call
my
Ray
thing
Moore.
is
call Ray. Afterwards, call Ray and say, mm-hmm, this kid just divulged this information. Mm-hmm. We need to report it. Okay. And normally he's going to report it for you.
He will do it because he's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That type of thing. That's very rare. Very, very, very rare. As I said, most parents. That's why the kids are there, because the parents are a little bit of the problem, and they're not punishing them anyway. So, you know, that type of thing.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's very. I've done it for 13 years. I've never had to report a parent. Okay. I've heard it, but I've never had to do it. So.
Okay. But I was thinking that the parent probably may be contributing to the behavior.
Oh yeah, they got the pop from mom and dad.
Mm-hmm. Or they got that attitude. Or they got that attitude. I can punch this kid.
Yes.
You know, you come home, you didn't kick his butt. You know, so next time you kick the kid's butt, and now you're sitting in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Helpful.
You know.
Yeah. So. I want to show you, I'm hoping, since I have internet, I'm going to show you a video. It's old, but it's the Lake Erie Restorative Justice Project in Minnesota. And they're one that kind of started this. And I wanted to see, let's see here. Let's see if I have internet. Oh, oops, nope. All right, we're in a technical difficulty. I'm afraid to touch anything.